I pressed my face against the rental car window as we pulled into the coastal town. 3 years Tyler had talked about this place. White sand, he'd said. Waves that never stop singing. The cottage sat 50 yards from the waterline, blue shutters weathered by salt air. I carried my bag while Tyler handled the logistics, his phone buzzing with work calls even here. Beautiful, right? He set down our suitcase, arms spreading toward the ocean view. I nodded, though something felt rehearsed about his enthusiasm. The way he watched my reaction, as if checking boxes on an invisible list. We unpacked in silence. I hung my sundresses in the tiny closet while Tyler arranged his toiletries with military precision. The bathroom mirror reflected 2 people who shared space but not secrets. "Dinner at 8?" he asked, scrolling through restaurant reviews. Sure, but dinner stretched long with forced conversation about the drive, the weather, anything except why we needed this vacation so desperately. Tyler ordered wine I didn't want, asked questions about my day job that he already knew the answers to. Back at the cottage, I changed into pajamas while he showered. Through the thin walls, I heard him humming, something he only did when nervous. I stepped onto the small deck. The ocean stretched endlessly, dark and patient. Waves whispered secrets I couldn't understand. Tyler emerged, hair damp, wearing the blue t-shirt I'd bought him last Christmas. "Come to bed?" "In a minute." He hesitated in the doorway, as if wanting to say something important. Instead, he kissed my forehead. "Don't stay up too late." I remained on the deck long after his breathing deepened into sleep, watching moonlight paint silver paths across the water. The second night, Tyler claimed exhaustion before 9 o'clock. I sat on our bed, watching him arrange tomorrow's clothes with the same methodical care he brought to everything. "I might walk on the beach," I said. He paused, folding a polo shirt. "Sounds nice. I'll probably be asleep when you get back." Something in his tone felt scripted, but I dismissed it. Tyler always sounded formal when tired. The sand was cool beneath my bare feet. I walked toward a cluster of rocks where the beach curved, creating a natural alcove. Few people ventured this far from the main strip. I settled cross-legged, letting waves foam around my ankles. The ocean pulled and released, eternal rhythm that made my marriage problems feel small and enormous simultaneously. Footsteps approached from behind. I didn't turn, assuming another late-night walker would pass by. Instead, he sat beside me. Close enough that I caught his scent. Salt and something warm, like cedar. I glanced sideways. Dark hair, strong jaw, eyes that reflected starlight. A stranger, but something about his presence felt expected, as if the universe had arranged this meeting. We sat without speaking for several minutes. The silence felt comfortable, not awkward. He reached over, fingertips brushing my hand. I should have pulled away. Should have mentioned my husband, my marriage, my vows. Instead, I turned my palm up. His hand was warm, calloused from outdoor work. He traced my lifeline with his thumb, a touch that sent electricity up my arm. "Beautiful night," he said quietly. "Yes." The conversation that followed happened without words, a tilt of his head toward the dunes. My nod. His hand helping me stand. What happened next belongs to shadows and starlight, to whispered breath and sand between my fingers. Gentle and inevitable as the tide. Afterward, I walked back alone. Tyler slept peacefully, never stirring when I slipped into bed. I woke before dawn, Tyler's arm draped across my waist. His breathing stayed deep, and even while I replayed the previous night frame by frame. Guilt should have consumed me. Instead, I felt strangely calm, as if some long-held tension had finally released. Tyler stirred, mumbling something about coffee. I slipped into the bathroom while he stretched and yawned. "Sleep well?" he asked when I emerged. "Yes. You?" "Like a rock." He padded to the kitchen, starting our morning routine. "I thought we could drive up the coast today. There's a lighthouse about 20 miles north." I agreed, though my attention kept drifting to the beach visible through our window. The spot where I'd sat with the stranger looked ordinary in daylight, giving no hint of what had transpired. Tyler hummed while making breakfast, that same nervous tune from yesterday. When his device chimed with a text, he grabbed it quickly. Too quickly. "Work?" I asked, buttering toast. "Mm-hmm." But he angled the screen away from me, fingers moving in rapid response. I poured orange juice, watching his reflection in the toaster. His expression looked focused, almost satisfied. When he excused himself to shower, I noticed he'd left the device on the counter. Screen up, unlocked. The message thread was still open. "She's already at the beach. You know what to do." Tyler's response. "Perfect. Same time tomorrow?" My hand trembled, nearly dropping my coffee mug. I read the exchange twice, then a third time, making sure I understood correctly. The shower was still running. I backed away from the counter, mind racing through implications. Tyler emerged 20 minutes later, whistling. "Ready for that drive?" I smiled. Absolutely. The lighthouse tour passed in a blur of guided explanations and scenic overlooks. Tyler played the attentive husband, taking photos of me against the coastal backdrop, buying a small ceramic figurine from the gift shop. "For your desk at work?" he said, wrapping it carefully in tissue paper. I thanked him, studying his face for tells. The same warm smile, the same considerate gestures. But now I wondered what calculations ran beneath the surface. We stopped for lunch at a seafood restaurant with checkered tablecloths and weathered wood walls. Tyler ordered wine, though it wasn't yet 2:00. "This is nice," he said, raising his glass. "Just us." "Just us," I echoed. The receipt, when it came, showed his careful handwriting, adding a generous tip. Another small kindness that now felt suspect. Had he always been orchestrating moments? Manufacturing experiences? "You're quiet today," he observed, signing the credit card slip. "Just taking it all in." "Good. That's what vacations are for." We drove back as afternoon shadows lengthened. Tyler suggested a nap before dinner, claiming the ocean air made him drowsy. I agreed, though sleep seemed impossible. Instead, I lay beside him, listening to his breathing regulate into the rhythm of genuine rest. At 6, he woke naturally, stretching like a cat. "Dinner in town?" he asked. "Or should we cook here?" "Town sounds good." "Perfect. I made reservations at that Italian place." He checked his watch. "We should leave around 7:30. Of course he'd made reservations. Tyler planned everything, always had. But now I wondered how far ahead his planning extended. "I might walk on the beach again tonight," I said casually. His pause lasted half a heartbeat too long. "Sounds relaxing. I'll probably read." I nodded, already knowing I wouldn't find him reading when I returned. Dinner stretched past 9:00. Tyler ordered dessert, lingered over coffee, asked detailed questions about my childhood summers. Conversations we'd had before, but tonight felt like deliberate stalling. When we finally returned to the cottage, he yawned theatrically. "I'm beat. That wine hit me harder than expected." "I think I'll take that beach walk." "Enjoy." He kissed my cheek, hands lingering on my shoulders. "Take your time." The same words as last night, delivered with identical inflection. I changed into a flowing dress and sandals, taking care with my appearance in ways that would have shamed me yesterday. Tonight, I felt no shame. The beach was quieter than before. Most tourists had retreated to hotel bars and restaurant patios. I walked the familiar path toward the rocky alcove, pulse quickening with each step. He was waiting. Same position as before, sitting in the sand, gazing at the horizon, as if he'd never left. "I hoped you'd come back," he said without turning. "Did you?" I settled beside him, close enough to feel his warmth. "Tyler said you might." The words hung between us like a revelation and confirmation simultaneously. I wasn't surprised exactly. Some part of me had known. "How long have you known my husband?" "We met last month. He had a proposition." The stranger's voice carried no judgment, only gentle honesty. "He said his wife needed something he couldn't provide." "And you agreed?" "I agreed to meet you. What happened after that was your choice." A wave larger than the others rushed toward shore, soaking our feet in cold foam. I didn't pull away. "What's your name?" I asked. "Does it matter?" No. And strangely, it didn't. Names belonged to the daylight world of introductions and explanations. Here, under stars, we existed outside such conventions. This time, when he took my hand, I understood the transaction completely. Tyler had arranged this, orchestrated my infidelity with the same methodical care he brought to vacation planning. The question was why. I returned to the cottage near midnight, sand still clinging to my dress. The living room was dark, but Tyler's silhouette was visible on the deck, motionless in a chair. "Good walk?" he asked without turning. I joined him outside. The ocean looked different from this angle. Less mysterious, more like a stage where performances had concluded. "We should talk," Tyler said quietly. "Should we?" He finally faced me, expression unreadable in the darkness. "I know what happened tonight, and last night. Do you?" "I arranged it." The admission hung between us like a bridge neither of us had crossed before. Tyler reached into his pocket, withdrawing a plastic keycard. "Room 237 at the Seaview Inn. He's staying there through Friday." I took the card, feeling its weight. Such a small thing to carry such enormous implications. "Why?" I asked. Tyler was quiet for a long moment. "Because I wanted to see if you would." "And now you know." "Now I know." We sat in silence, the sound of waves providing soundtrack to our unraveling. Or perhaps our beginning. I couldn't tell which. "Are you angry?" I asked. "No." Tyler's voice carried something I'd rarely heard before. Relief, maybe, or satisfaction. "Are you?" I considered the question seriously. Anger would have been easier, more familiar. Instead, I felt curious about what came next. "No," I said finally. Tyler nodded, as if confirming something important. "Good." The keycard felt warm in my palm, already beginning to bend from my grip. A small plastic rectangle that represented choice, consequence, and possibility all at once. "What happens now?" I asked. "That depends on you." I stood, still holding the keycard. Tyler remained in his chair, watching me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not quite love, not quite calculation. Something entirely new. "I'm going inside," I said. "Okay." I paused in the doorway. "Will you be here when I wake up?" I believed him. Morning brought harsh sunlight and the smell of Tyler making pancakes. I found him at the stove, spatula in hand, looking domestic and ordinary. "Sleep well?" he asked, as if last night's conversation had been a dream. "Fine." I poured coffee, studying his profile. "Tyler?" "How long have you been planning this?" He flipped a pancake with practiced ease. 6 months, maybe longer." "Why?" "Because we were dying." He turned to face me, spatula still in hand. "Slowly, politely, but dying all the same." I couldn't argue with that assessment. Our marriage had become a series of pleasant routines performed by two people who'd forgotten how to surprise each other. So you hired someone to seduce me? I hired someone to give you a choice. Tyler plated the pancakes, adding butter and syrup with the same care he brought to everything. What you did with that choice was entirely up to you. The receipt from yesterday's lunch was still tucked in his wallet, visible through the open billfold on the counter. Such ordinary evidence of an extraordinary manipulation. And if I'd walked away, then we'd have gone home and continued pretending everything was fine. But I didn't walk away. No. Tyler set the plate in front of me. You didn't. I took a bite, tasting nothing. What does this make us? Honest, maybe, for the first time in years. Is that what you call it? Tyler sat across from me, his own breakfast untouched. Monica, we haven't made love in 8 months. We barely talk about anything that matters. You've been sleepwalking through our marriage, and I've been enabling it. The words stung because they were true. So this was therapy? This was a wake-up call. I pushed pancakes around my plate, appetite gone. For both of us? For both of us. Outside, seagulls cried over something they'd found in the surf. The sound seemed appropriate for this conversation, raw and demanding attention. What happens when we go home? I asked. Tyler reached across the table, covering my hand with his. That's up to us. I spent the morning walking alone, processing Tyler's revelations. The beach looked different in daylight, smaller, more manageable. Less like a place where lives changed, and more like a stretch of sand where tourists took photos. When I returned to the cottage, Tyler was packing our suitcases with military precision. Shirts folded just so, toiletries arranged by size. We're leaving early? I asked. I thought we might. He glanced up from his methodical arrangements. Unless you'd prefer to stay. The question carried weight beyond its simple words. Staying meant more nights, more encounters, more complications. Leaving meant returning to real life with new knowledge and no script for how to proceed. No, I said. I'm ready to go home. Tyler nodded, sealing his toiletry bag. His device buzzed with another message, but this time he ignored it completely. Aren't you going to check that? I asked. It's not important. I watched him finish packing, noting the careful way he avoided looking at his screen. Whatever communication he'd been having with the stranger was apparently concluded. Tyler? Yes? Do you regret it? He paused, a polo shirt halfway into the suitcase. Do you? I asked first. Tyler resumed folding. No, I don't regret it. Why not? Because for the first time in months, you looked alive. The observation hit harder than intended. I had felt alive on that beach, more present in my own body than I'd been in years. And you? Tyler asked. Do you regret it? I considered lying, offering the response a good wife should give. Instead, I chose honesty. No. Tyler smiled. Not his polite social smile, but something genuine and slightly sad. Good. We finished packing in comfortable silence, a new dynamic settling between us like furniture in an unfamiliar room. The hotel lobby was busy with checkout traffic, families loading luggage carts and couples settling bills. Tyler handled our paperwork while I waited by the window, watching other vacationers begin their journeys home. All set, he said, returning with our receipt and the cottage keys. I followed him to the car, where our suitcases fit neatly in the trunk. Tyler had always been good at making things fit perfectly. As we pulled out of the parking lot, I caught sight of the Seaview Inn across the street. Room 237 would be on the second floor, facing the ocean. The key card Tyler had given me was still in my purse, unused but not forgotten. Did you pay him? I asked as we merged onto the coastal highway. Pay who? You know who. Tyler checked his mirrors, signaling with characteristic precision. Yes. How much? I'd like to know what I was worth. Tyler glanced at me, expression unreadable. It wasn't about worth. It was about possibility. That's not an answer. $500. Plus his hotel room. The figure seemed both too much and too little. I turned toward the window, watching the coastline blur past. Monica? What? Are we going to be okay? The question hung in the air between us, heavy with implications. Were we okay now? Would we be okay when we returned to our regular routines? Could a marriage survive this kind of orchestrated honesty? I don't know, I said finally. The keycard in my purse felt like evidence of something, though I wasn't sure what. A crime? A gift? A test we'd both passed and failed simultaneously? Miles passed in relative silence, the ocean disappearing in our rearview mirror. 3 hours into the drive, Tyler pulled off at a rest stop for gas and coffee. I stretched my legs in the parking lot while he filled the tank, both of us moving through familiar motions that felt different now. Want anything? He asked, nodding toward the convenience store. Coffee, black. He disappeared inside while I leaned against the car, watching highway traffic flow past in both directions. People heading toward the coast, people heading home. All of them carrying stories I'd never know. Tyler returned with 2 cups and a bag of trail mix. Thought you might be hungry. Thanks. We got back on the road, the silence between us less comfortable now. Miles of highway stretched ahead, and with them, the return to real life. Jobs, routines, the careful choreography of a marriage that had been fundamentally altered. What are we going to tell people? I asked. About what? About us. About whether the vacation helped. Another mile passed, then another. Yeah? Why didn't you just divorce me? The question surprised us both. Tyler's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Because I didn't want to divorce you, he said finally. I wanted to save us. By having me sleep with someone else? By giving you permission to be honest about what you wanted. I stared out the passenger window at farmland rolling past. And what did you want? To see if you'd choose to come back to me. And did I? Tyler glanced at me, something vulnerable in his expression. Did you? The question would follow us home, I realized. It would sit at our dinner table, lie between us in bed, accompany us through all the ordinary moments of married life. Maybe that was the point. Home looked exactly as we'd left it, but everything felt different. Tyler carried our suitcases upstairs while I sorted through accumulated mail, both of us performing domestic rituals that now seemed like elaborate theater. I'll start dinner, Tyler said, appearing in the kitchen doorway. I'm not really hungry. Neither am I. We stood there, uncertain of our next moves. 3 days ago, we'd known exactly how to navigate these moments. Now, even simple interactions required conscious thought. Tyler's wallet was open on the counter, the restaurant receipt visible among his credit cards. Such a small piece of paper to represent such a large shift in our understanding of each other. We don't have to pretend this didn't happen. I looked at him, really looked, for the first time in months. The same face I'd been sharing breakfast with for 6 years, but somehow unfamiliar now. What does that mean? It means we can talk about it. About what you liked. About what I learned. About what we want to try. The keycard was still in my purse upstairs, though I'd never used it. Tyler knew this, just as he knew I'd kept it rather than throwing it away. And if I don't want to talk about it? Then we don't. But the option is there. I nodded slowly, understanding that we were negotiating new terms for our marriage. Not the vows we'd spoken 6 years ago, but something more complex and honest. I'm not the same person who left here 3 days ago. I know. Are you okay with that? Tyler moved closer, stopping just within arm's reach. I'm counting on it. Outside, our neighbor was mowing his lawn with the same methodical precision he brought to the task every Sunday. Some routines would continue unchanged. Others would require complete reinvention. Tyler reached into his wallet, pulling out the restaurant receipt. He handed it to me, along with the unused keycard from my purse. Somehow he'd retrieved it without my noticing. Now we decide what we want to keep and what we want to change. I held both items, evidence of orchestration and possibility. In the distance, the neighbor's mower continued its steady rhythm, marking time in a world where some couples had learned to be honest about their hungers. Together? I asked. Tyler's smile was different now, less polite, more real. If you want to. I did.